What's up, guys? This is Patrick, and it's time for Parallel Universes once again. And today we're going to be looking at Trainer Goats Town. So, get some friend actions going on here. We're going to start with the top right. So it's a smaller town area that he's working with. However, there's a lot of interesting locations I'd like to take a look at, a lot of designs that I like, and maybe some other stuff that we can improve on. So right here we're going to start around the Springfield Heights area. Entrance is very simple, but it works. Just a couple of fences, some trees, bushes, and it works perfectly right here. And actually, if we do come up here, though, we do see that Springfield Heights isn't very developed, which is okay. About the same thing I think I'm going to do at mine. I want to finish my town before I actually do Springfield Heights. So anyways, if I can give a recommendation, though, depending on what you actually want to do with it, if you want to make some posh, rich kind of area, then I would recommend giving a lot of space to your buildings, making big, impressive, stuff like big mansions, using like classic mansions, modern mansions, whatever you can, just big yards. Lots of decorations too, like trees and flowers, lots of bushes, making it look really nice and fancy, but keeping it very open would be the recommendation I would have to give you, if that's what you want to do at your Springfield Heights, of course. And that goes for really anyone who's looking to develop their area up there as well. Otherwise, we come down here into a residential area, which I do like a lot. Got this lampposts on the street, which is a nice touch. I don't think of doing that very often, although I should, because it does look very good. Houses placed here, instead of using fences, he has used the hedges instead, which works very well. Not a very big yard though, which I mean is fine. You don't have to have a big yard, because I mean they're just standard size homes, right? So they don't need the biggest space behind, because they do have this mountain range, and I guess we could assume some kind of forest, if you will, back here. So a couple of trees and flowers decorations, they work just fine. So that works very well. We come down here with the Simpson house and the Flanders house. The one thing I would recommend doing, I guess, is kind of closing this off, or at least putting like maybe a row of trees or something behind, just to like kind of separate it, the backyard from the town. Sorry, not the town, from the road that's behind here and on the side. Just for, I guess, an added touch of realism, though I do know that in a lot of areas not everyone has fences or hedges in the back, but it seems like we're going for more of a suburban look down here, so a couple of hedges and fences wouldn't do any harm. Same thing down here now. The one thing I've noticed about this kind of square over here is it's very compact, and the things are very close together. Like the school's right next to the house, right next to the Krusty Burger, which is right next to the Quickie Mart. And the one thing I think could be improved on here would be just spacing things out, because the designs themselves of the buildings look really good. Like the Quickie Mart's got the dumpster over here, parking and whatnot. It looks great. Same thing for the Krusty Burger. It's got this nice little outdoor eating area and whatnot over here, and then there's the backyard for the Springfield Elementary, which as individual buildings works really well, but I do think that they just look a little too tight together, and I think they need to be separated a little bit, because like the school right next to the house here, it just doesn't seem very coherent. It kind of just looks a little too small and stuck together. So making it breathe a little more would really make this area shine. However, if we do go down here, I do like this area a lot, which is the Nelson's house, as well as Cletus's farm, which I think looks really good. It's in this nice little wooded area. But what Trainer Goat has done here is they've used debris and whatnot to really give the accent to this more run-down kind of area, and I think that looks really, really good, because that's an easy way, if you don't have any money to buy any decorations and whatnot, just use debris as decorations. I think that's just perfect, as well as the rundown washer and dryers. I also like the patches of dirt every now and again, the broken fences kind of outlining everything. It's just a really cool area, this little forest area. And then over here, there's the kind of a plane crash through here, which also looks really good. So this whole area I do like a lot. Very coherent. There's a lot of space. It breathes, even though there's a lot of things in one area. There's because it makes sense, really. Like the buildings aren't stuck together. Like this is what you would expect to find in like some sort of a woodland area, very open space. So I think that's very good. We have the Springfield Squidport down here, a little underdeveloped, but what it has been put in here looks really good in my opinion. I love how there's the island just in the middle here, separated by these benches, which seem to be used as some sort of railings and whatnot, and I think that's a really good idea. So going with that and expanding your Squidport, I think it's just going to look fine. The one thing I would do though is I think I would move it out of this woodland area to maybe a more commercial area down here. I think that would make a little more sense. And a nicer access point for people as well, coming from a couple of shops and stalls, Barney's Bowl-O-Rama, and then going, oh hey, there's a Squidport, instead of just having to go through this area here and then going to the Squidport, I think would just make a little more sense. Otherwise, over here we have a very nice area. I like the apartments over here and the little fenced off area they have here, because they have just a nice kind of parkish area if you want, the trees, the bushes, even the monkey bars if ever some kids want to go play and run around, but it's fenced off too, and it just looks really nice. It breathes, it's perfect. Bowl-O-Rama looks really good, nothing to say. Not many decorations you can really add to it either. The retirement castle has a nice little area back here, maybe fencing it off a little bit more, maybe adding some hedges between the buildings here would give some more space to it. But otherwise, it looks really good. And same thing around here, what he's done with the trees, the flowers, benches, and all. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Up here, I think around this area here where there's a Gulp and Blow and Luigi's, there's once again a problem where it needs to just breathe a little more, because it looks a little kind of chaotic around here with all the twisting streets going a little bit everywhere. I think it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit, making less curves in your roads, straighter streets, and once again just letting things breathe, just like I had said for the area up here, would be just perfect. And then we come over here where we have the prison and the power plant. I do like how the power plant is, over here. I do believe I would move this a little further away from the residential area and like the school district and the church and whatnot, just because I don't think the power plant would logically be as close to it as it is, but the design itself looks really good. I like the leading up to it and the kind of like, they don't want anyone just wandering in, which looks really good. And I would look to replicate that with the Springfield Penitentiary as well. I think that would look really, really good. And then we come up here. Once again, there's a great job done with the decorations here and the use of bushes and flowers and everything. It just makes the town look really beautiful, in my opinion. I love how everything is decorated and how everything looks. It just looks really nice and very, very well done. It looks like something you would find in a regular town, some trees, parks, benches, shops and everything. It looks really good to me. Even the Springfield Park, I do like it a lot. The gazebo, the statue, and the very nice use of dirt paths instead of just regular concrete to make it look like a nice little promenade through a couple of little streams, rivers, lakes, whatever you want to call them. Looks really, really good. I like it a lot. Up here we have Springfield Downs, making use of the benches and giving them a kind of like bleacher effect. Looks really, really good. And that's pretty much going to do it from this town. It was a smaller town today, but nonetheless, I do like taking a look at it. It gives me more time to focus on all of the areas being a little smaller, and it doesn't matter. I don't really care what the size of your town is or how much of it is really complete. I mean, obviously, I'd like to see the majority of the town being complete and not just me looking at a bunch of house farms, but still, it doesn't really matter. So, in general, what I'd have to say about this town, I think it looks really good. It's really well decorated, is one thing. The individual buildings themselves look really good, how their surroundings look very coherent. They look very logical. What those actual buildings would have, like let's say in real life in a real town. The one thing I would say to improve on is just the I guess we'll call them the kind of like chaotic kind of streets. It just kind of looks like they're going everywhere and twisting around and whatnot. I would just make that a little more, like a little cleaner, you know, not as many curves, more straight lines. Obviously, you can have some curves here and there, but if that's what your entire town looks like, it just starts to look a little chaotic, like I said. So I would just clean that up a little bit, and for a couple of buildings, like I said down here, just space things out because, whoops, when things breathe, things tend to look better. Otherwise, when things are really stuck together, they tend to look a little more cramped, which is not necessarily what you want in your town. So I think when things breathe, things look really, really nice. And if you've seen what I've tried to do with my town, you'll notice that I make very big. I leave a lot of space between the buildings because I like to decorate around them, and I like things to look like they would in a regular town instead of just mashing everything together. And that's pretty much going to do it for this week's episode, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm really glad to see the support I'm getting for this series and that you guys keep enjoying it. I hope that my advice is helpful to all of you. If you'd like to see yourself in a future episode of Parallel Universes, be sure to leave your Origin name or just add me on Origin, and I'll select another comment at random and add you, of course, and we'll take a look at your town. See you next time.